G'day guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we've got a video called Divorced, Broke and Burned Out. Here's what I did next. The reason why I've chosen this video today, it's a bit more of a serious one. I'm going to go a bit more in depth about the divorce experience for men. I know there are a lot of you guys out there not having a great time, whether you're being divorced or you're just going through a bad breakup, suffering a little bit. At the moment, I want to talk about this, how divorces and bad breakups affect men more than what society acknowledges. So let's jump into it. For those of you who want to watch his video and support his channel, please go and find the video linked in the video description. Without further ado, let's get into a good rant today.
Fritz, I'm 57 years old and I have been working full-time for around about 41 years. I've been on YouTube for a few years now, talking mainly about landscape photography, photography in general, and cars. Particularly photographing cars, since that's something that I used to do for a living, and I've been obsessed with cars since I was 8 years old when I first learned to drive. But I started this channel because many years ago I had a couple of blogs that focused very heavily on the sorts of challenges that people in my age group, back then I was in my early 50s, are dealing with. Back then I'd come out of divorce, my second divorce, and the subsequent financial collapse that ensued from that. And I was struggling through what you would call a midlife crisis.
Okay, let's talk about this and then we'll continue to let it play, because this isn't the longest video today. So I have an opinion on this. I truly do not judge any man who falls for the societal programming by your friends, family, parents, movies, all this sort of stuff that you hear your whole life as a young guy coming up in the world. I don't blame you for wanting to go and try it and have your head in the sand or head in the clouds when it comes to the risks of getting married. But you go and do it a second time, that's where my sympathy ends, because you know what you're in for. Especially if you've had a bad time the first time round. A lot of guys will go back in really quickly for round two. They want to show the world or prove to themselves or prove to society they still got it. They want to show that ex-wife, hey, guess what? I still got a woman. I can still get women. I've got one. I've got married again. She doesn't care. She's already moved on. She isn't going to lose any sleep over it. But guys go and do that because they want to get the validation that, because a lot of the time guys go through a horrible time. They've been abandoned and discarded in a very treacherous kind of way. They want to get validation that they still got it. But let's talk about the true impacts of getting broken up. So that was my disclaimer. I never say to guys, don't do it. I say you need to keep your eyes open. Like, have your eyes open, because there are countless stories of guys this age or even younger, guys my age, I'm 40 years old, who've been through the mill and seen other guys go through the mill. And around this age and beyond, you really start to see how the sausage is made when it comes to marriages, divorces, just how guys just get absolutely shafted by society, and you're told to shut up and not talk about it. I'll put you, head up, mate. You had a bad one. Just get another one. Go do it again. So what's the impact? Let's talk about the rug pull. Okay, now, I don't know this guy's story. I don't know why it blew up or anything like that, but most guys are not going to see it coming. Generally, what happens when you move in with a woman, you get married, give it even a few months, even a couple of years at the longest, that honeymoon period will wear off. And a lot of the time you're going to be stuck with someone who is not treating you with much respect at all. You're walking on eggshells in your own house. You're being harangued, criticised, just broken down, deconstructed day by day in, day out, year out. Eventually until the point where she'll put the dude out of his misery, but it'll then create a lot more misery. So walking on eggshells in your own house, being ignored, being disrespected for years on end. That's generally the marriage experience for men. Men don't like talking about it or sharing that because it makes them look weak. You know, if a guy was to say, "Oh, my wife's doing X, Y, and Z," to the average guy on the street, the guy will be criticizing him. Why you can't keep your wife happy? You don't know what you're doing. Blah blah blah. You got a small knob. Whatever it is. So guys keep it to themselves because men are very proud, and the last thing you want to be putting out there is that you can't hold things down at home. That's why guys don't talk about it. So they're going through this, living a life in a silent prison, suffering, living a life they didn't think they were going to be living, a life of servitude. A lot of the time, they've given their freedom up to the jail warden, who will have ultimate decision-making power over what they do, when they do it, how they do it. Someone who's going to be, a lot of the time, a financial burden. I get a lot of emails, talk to a lot of guys, and one of the biggest gripes that I hear, especially when married or in a serious relationship once you're locked in, is that women will disregard your financial goals, your financial strategy, for wanting short-term instant gratification, i.e. holidays, new cars, you name it, experiences, dining out all the time, new clothes, buying stuff. Like, that's how women feel like they're getting ahead in life. Buying stuff, having experiences, doing things, that's leveling up. And so you get guys, like this guy I was talking, he's been working for 40 years, grinding day in, day out to build wealth. You've got someone who's an anchor literally around your neck. That's what most guys are having. Frustrated, annoyed, going and doing jobs a lot of the time we don't want to do. If there was no money on the line and you didn't have to work, you wouldn't turn up there most of the time. Most people don't love their job or their careers, but they do it because it pays and there's opportunity to grow in it a lot of the time. So you just suck it up and you live a life slave to the system, slave to the wife, hoping that one day, if you do all the right things, you're out of the system. Now let's talk about what happens to guys this age, or guys even younger, who have grinded, built something up. Guess what happens? The rug pull comes along. You end up getting absolutely slammed. Getting put into a position where all that grinding you did, all that studying, all those working weekends, working late nights, maybe you're a real hustler, real grinder, you're working 2 and 3 jobs. All of that effort that has resulted in wealth for you. Now, everyone's version of wealth is different, but for every man, we have a different view of what wealth is. But all of that effort you've put in and that financial output, gone. And people will say, no, it's not all of it, it's just half. No, on the absolute best case scenario, it's going to be half. I just want you guys to know that, who haven't been through it or been married before. You're looking at 65, 70%, especially if you're a lot more of a significant earner than your wife or your long-term girlfriend that you're in a de facto with, and you have children. That's where you get absolutely bent over. I know guys that have lost 70% of net assets, i.e. property, cash, 401k / or we call it superannuation here in Australia, pensions, wherever you may live, it's all the same thing. That all gets extracted from you and transferred over to the woman. Now that's her reward for blowing your life up. So guys have a real identity crisis because everything you've ever worked for, everything you've ever believed in, everything you were striving towards, gone overnight in a day. Now, yes, women generally are planning these things for a long period of time, but in most cases, they're putting up a pretty good act so the guy doesn't see it coming until they pull that ejector cord. So all of a sudden, she's done the Thanos on you from Avengers. She's clicked the Infinity Gauntlet. There goes your car, there goes your house, it just evaporates, your bank account, your mental health. Just picture it all just fading away into dust. That's what guys deal with. absolutely gutted. They get put into bad positions. People think, oh, it's guys get bitter or angry or they hate women because a wife or a woman left them. Now, that sucks, especially if you really did love that person. You're going to suffer a bit, but time heals that. You know what time doesn't heal? Losing 20, 30, 40 years of slavery to the system, of grinding and losing a lot of that money and seeing it go to someone who has brutally dropped you, has done it a lot of the time in a very nasty manner, has deployed underhanded tactics and has used the family law system to make you helpless and hopeless, and you watch them walk away with all of your money. Now people say, what do you mean all of your money? It's 70%. You say, gee, man. Think about this. A lot of the time, if you say you have a property or you have assets, especially let's talk about property, okay? You got a family home. Now, a lot of the time, what will happen is there'll either be a forced sale, so you got to sell up and then you've got to pay her out. Or alternatively, what guys will do, and I can understand why, because I did this myself, is you want to hang on to your asset, right? You want to hang on to your house. You don't want to lose it. It's hard to get a house. It's hard to get into the market. So you'll do what you can. You'll pull all the strings to try and be able to keep it. You'll go into additional debt to buy her out for that extra equity you've got to put against your name, that you've got to borrow against, and you'll pay her out. But in doing that, a lot of the time, you're going to put yourself in an adverse financial position, a really big hole that's going to take you probably years to dig yourself out of. Now, that's what most guys will do. They want to hold on to, I guess, a remnant of that past life and past effort. So we'll put ourselves, because I've been there, I've done it. You'll put yourself in a really tough financial spot and you'll just grind to get yourself out. Now, this is a long-winded way of me saying that guys get absolutely shafted. And I want to go back to my original point. After you've gone and done that, you've dug yourself, you've clawed your way out of hell, so to speak. Think about the Shawshank Redemption, and he's escaped from the prison, and he's climbing through that pipe with all the sewerage in it, and finally he gets out, and he's free. That's guys. We claw our way out of a horrible situation, and you go and do it again. But that's why I have no sympathy. I'm not saying don't engage with women or anything like that. I'm saying just don't fucking marry them, right? For lack of a better term. Guys rushing in wanting to get married and have living girlfriends very quickly. That, in my opinion, you need to vet them out for years. Why? Because this is what you end up like. You end up losing everything. And I'm ranting today. That's why you're here. Anyway, we'll keep it going. I'll probably call it halfway before I go into the next section of the rant. This is a topic I'm really passionate about because a lot of men suffer and they don't have anywhere to go, any content that really goes into detail of the psychology of it, and they feel alone in life. They feel alone. So you're not alone. We talk about these things here. If you're having a really bad time, send me an email. Happy to try and help you out the best I can, because I know just how bad it can get and how hopeless you can feel. And guys do, well, they take the only way out at the time that seems to relieve them of any pain, and we know what that is. I don't need to say it. And I don't want to, if I could stop one guy from doing that, that's life mission complete. Guys, halfway, if you want to subscribe to the channel and you're new, consider doing so. Let's keep the channel growing. Currently demonetized, so if you guys want to support the channel in any way, you can. There are multiple ways to do it. There's a PayPal link in the video description and pinned comment, same as being able to line up a call with me, and also checking out the locals. I've been building that community out. I've got some of my old original archived vlogs up there now. So I'm starting to build out that, I'll say it is the uncensored content base. So you can go over there, access that. There's also free stuff over there if you want to follow and don't want to be a paid supporter. There's things there for everybody. So go and check that out, and that supports me. Let's keep going.
Struggling with my identity and the things that I'd worked so hard for all of those years to accumulate wealth and status and security and providing for my family, for my 2 young girls at the time. And following that divorce and the elimination of everything tangible that I had built over all those decades, financially speaking, I was really struggling. And I didn't go off and have an affair. I didn't start doing drugs, but I did start drinking quite a lot. I remember there was one point there where I would buy bottles of red wine by the caseload, and they would be all laid out there on the kitchen bench, and I would just go through them one by one. At the same time, I was also working incredibly long hours, trying to dig myself out of the financial hole that I'd found myself in. I went from having 5 houses to no houses, no assets, and $140,000 in debt. So it was pretty dire at the time.
People say, how does that happen, G-Man? Well, I thought it was only 50%. No, as I said, you're going into debt because say you want to even keep one of those houses, say he's had 5, he's obviously done well for himself, you've got to refinance. And you've got to do it at the market value today. So if he bought them 10 years ago or 20 years ago and he's been building equity in them, well, when he pays out, you've got to pay someone out. You don't pay him out on what you paid for them 20 years ago. You pay out a market value now. And so obviously in Australia, that's moved a lot. That's how guys get shafted. People go, oh, well, you still got half of, 5 houses. No. You got to be selling assets off to be able to pay her out. That's how it works. There's complete destruction of wealth. That's why I say, if you get with the wrong woman, she's going to ruin your life. Not just because she breaks up with you and hurts your feelings. As I said, it can be bad. It can put guys in really bad places of depression. But you get out of that eventually. It takes time. You'll get out of it. But knowing that your whole life, your whole purpose, so as men, we get up out of bed every morning because we're chasing a dream. We're chasing something. We're chasing to make ourselves better. We're chasing a bit of freedom. We're on the grind every day. No one's going to help us. No one's going to save us. We've got to get out and do it. At the click of a finger, right, Thanos, all that's gone. Now, that's a really bitter pill to swallow, a very bitter pill to swallow. But let's get over it. It's only money. It's not money. Think about what you put in to have that output of money. Think about it all the time, sacrifice, effort. You may as well never have worked. That's what guys struggle with. Better yet, let's go a little bit further than that. Men who have children and really identified with being the family man, like doing everything for the family. That was your purpose. You get up, you're the pack horse. Everybody's well-being and I guess comfort in life is resting on your shoulders. But a lot of guys, they love that, right? It gives you a purpose. You're getting up, you're working towards something, and you're looking after people that you love, right? Your kids and your wife at the time. Now, what happens there? That whole thing blows up. So then all your money is gone, but even worse, your whole purpose is gone. Like your whole why. Why am I getting out of bed every day? Why am I getting up and putting up with that guy at work, my boss, your supervisor, who's unrelenting, unrealistic, just doesn't, you're busting your ass, but at the end of the day, it feels like it's worth it. Now that's all gone. And that's when guys go into a real dark place, especially when you've got women playing the system, using any dirty tactic, including the police, to tear your access to your family away, your children away. Now, I don't have children, but I've seen this happen to guys, and it is just horrible to see just how badly it affects them, just how broken they are. It is the worst. It is the worst. That's why I say to guys, and I hope some young guys are watching, maybe this content is probably not as edgy as what a lot of these younger kids would want to watch. When I say kids, people in their 20s. But I hope the message is getting through to a couple of you younger guys, because this can be you 20, 25 years down the road. And as I said, it's the ego of men. It won't happen to you. The guy who's telling you this, this guy in a video, or me, you're just some burnt out older guy. You didn't have a good experience. You're bitter because things didn't go the way you wanted. you know what society says. They shut you down, discredit you for speaking up about it. I hope somebody does listen, because this is 50% of guys. Now, you get married, like if half of you guys are going to end up in a shit position. Now, if you've got nothing, you can't really lose anything. But if you're one of those people who, I want to talk about this before I move on. I know I'm ranting today, but that's why you're here. I'm back. I've been unwell for the last few days. I've got a lot of pent up ranting. I wasn't able to rant. Well, it just frustrates me, gents. I'm not going to go on the rant. Let's just keep playing the video and then I will go again.
And because I had such a close bond with my young girls, being away from them, albeit 10 minutes down the road, was gut-wrenching for me. It was a massive struggle for a long time. Even though I saw them every weekend, even though I still took them to dance classes and dropped them off at school and all that sort of stuff, it was a real struggle. And so I began to write about it, and about all the things that exist on the periphery of questioning everything that I thought had been important up to that point. Almost everything. I gotta blow my nose. Then some years later, a close friend of mine died, and this friend of mine was incredibly fit. He was just a bright spark, ray of sunshine, super positive, just a fabulous bloke. And he was the last person that I thought would get cancer and die from it. And when he did, sort of a switch went off inside my head, as often happens with people who are suddenly confronted with their own mortality through the passing of somebody else. And I picked up a camera again. For the first time in a long time. I'd been a professional photographer for many years, shooting for magazines and companies and doing advertising, all that sort of stuff. But I picked up a camera and I went out into the landscape, out into an area not that far from here actually, and just spent some time out in the landscape on my own, taking photos. And it was incredibly cathartic. It was just beautiful. I'd spent a lot of my childhood out in the bush, in the wilderness, in the deserts of Australia and in the high country, camping with my dad, going on adventures. And just being out there again after working so damn hard for so long to get absolutely nothing out of it. It just felt good again to be out there in nature doing something simple and tangible, something real. And so I decided to start a YouTube channel and talk about that, my rediscovery of landscape photography. And it's been incredibly satisfying and rewarding. And I'm still, running that channel and will continue to do it for in perpetuity for as long as it continues to interest me. And it's been fabulous getting to know a whole lot of people who have also rediscovered or discovered for the first time the joys of being out in the landscape, taking photographs of it.
All right, so let's talk about this. So a lot of guys give up on life, right? You've been knocked down, you've copped a really bad blow, you've had your legs basically taken out from under you, right? That's what a rug pull is. So if you think about you're standing on the rug, someone's grabbed the edges of the rug, they've pulled it, what happens? You go flying up in the air, legs out from underneath you, landing on your back, and you're out done, right? You're out cold, you're on your back. It's good to see that there are a lot of guys out there. Well, we don't have any choice, but a lot of you can either do one or two things, right? You can give up. Now I know I've talked about this guy a bit. There is a guy that I know who he's my age, right? He's still pretty young, and he went through it would have been for him a shock divorce. It probably wasn't a shock for us, but his wife, left him abruptly during COVID. Cleaned out his bank account, did all that, all that BS stuff I talk about. There's horrible things that can just really crush a man's self-worth, self-esteem, view on the world. Right, did everything to him. He's never recovered from it. He went back and lived with his father, and he just goes to work every day, and he comes home and he sits in his room or bungalow or wherever he's got there, and he just drinks beers and smokes darts. And he just goes to bed and he does it again. He just gambles on sports bet and all that sort of stuff. He's not the same guy. He's not as outgoing as he was. He's definitely not interested in meeting women or doing anything. So he's completely given up. Now, I don't blame him for the woman part, but he's given up on society. He's a bit of a shut-in. Doesn't go anywhere. Doesn't want to talk to people. You can't get him out. We've tried to get him out camping. You try and get him out to do stuff. he's like, no. There's always an excuse, or he says he's in, and then, the last minute he pulls out or he ghosts everyone. So people have given up on him, unfortunately, and that's what happens. Or what can you do? You can say, you know what? Once you felt sorry for yourself for a little bit, and that, I guess I call it the fog of war, right? For anyone who's been through it, you know what I'm talking about. You got a haze, it's clouding your head. You're in shock. You are just trying to work out what the hell's going on because so much change has happened so abruptly. Once you get past that fog of war, it lifts, especially when you get through like the divorce courts or family law, negotiations, all that sort of stuff, financial settlements. Once you get through that, you can start saying, you know what, I'm not going to let this beat me. If anything, I've been given my life back. Because a lot of guys think the life's over. You've been given your life back. You've had to pay for it. But a lot of the time, you're probably in situations and circumstances that, as I said, you were the pack horse. You weren't living a life of anything that you truly wanted to do. There's no real spare time for you. You're always working to provide, and you're driving kids and wives around everywhere. And any social thing you do, it's dictated by the wife. So now you've got your time back. You've got complete control over your money, even if your wages are being garnished for child support or spousal support. You are still, with that remaining money you have left, you're running the show. You don't have to answer to anyone. So once you start realizing that, you have your life back. You can really start to plan for the future. And that's why at that point I made at the start of the video, guys running straight back in without rebuilding themselves up, without enjoying a little bit of single time, without just enjoying the freedom of it. Like straight back in, you want to be locked up in prison again. That's why I just don't understand that. I do get it. It's from a neediness perspective, but life can be really good once you get through the really bad time. And look, there are a lot of you guys out there, for those of you who still made it through this video to this long, you might be suffering at the moment. You might not be sleeping well. Yeah, right in the throes of it. It's recent, or it's a couple of months ago and you're still struggling, or a year ago and you're still struggling. It takes a while. But there is an ending. There really is. And I'm not saying this stuff just to be wholesome, but your life will get better. Like once you get through it, once you get through that storm, your life is yours. You can make what you want to make out of it with that remaining time. Now, you've paid dearly for it, but there comes a point where you've got to move on from that and start looking forward and not looking backwards. And that's how guys fall in the trap of, my mate that I was talking about. You're thinking you're in the victim mindset forever. Now that's a normal human behavior, to go through the stages of grief and acceptance and all that. You can't stay in the victim mentality mode forever. It's just going to ruin your life. You're going to let someone completely ruin your whole life. Think about that. So the one point, and I always say this to guys who talk to me, because someone said it to me once. If you've been divorced and you think it's all over, you might be 30, you might be 40, even 50. You think about it in these terms. You've got your life back. You've got full autonomy. You might have that 30, 40, 20 years remaining of your life, whatever it is, that's yours. You're out. You're out of the jail. You might have had to pay for it. Some guys get off scot-free, but most men are paying for it pretty severely, but you got your life back. So just think about it like that. Now, in terms of feeling better and what can you do to start getting your mindset in the right place, because I know what it's like. As I said, I've been there. I've absolutely been there. I know what it's like to be in the full depths of it. Best thing for me is going for walks, long walks, because I know what it's like when you're stressed, you're anxious, you don't feel like going to the gym, and it's hard. It's hard to focus. Now, if you can do that, please do that, because that's really good for you. You don't need to be a bodybuilder, but going and doing weights, even if it's just once or twice a week, it does a lot for your stress management. It does a lot for your mental health. But long walks were it for me, especially when you're trying to plan your life. You're like, okay, I'm going for this hard time. How am I going to get myself out of it? What am I going to do to feel like I'm moving forward again? Because, those divorce processes can be like quicksand. You feel like you're just in it and you're not moving and you're sinking slowly, because they can really draw out and be horrible. So my suggestion, guys, long walks, and I'm talking 1, 2, 3. If you got 3 hours a night, you can do it. It's better than lying on the couch watching, Netflix or Disney Plus, smashing bottles of wine and beers and doing all that stuff to self-medicate. Go for long walks. Think about your life. Reflect on life. Strategize. Strategize for the future. Create a plan. If I can say one thing that really got my mind off it and started being positive, I created a plan. I did like a financial plan, a little basic one. Just open up Excel. I made a little basic budget. Made a 5-year budget. Spent a few hours. Just really simple, It's not overly engineered or anything. Real simple one. Stuck to that. I could see that if I do these things consistently for a few years, I'm going to be able to dig myself out of this hole. And that was very motivating. Instead of feeling sorry for myself and letting it get on top of me and beat me, or do things that are self-destructive, like, go and blow the rest of your money because you don't care anymore and do all these big holidays and because you don't give a stuff. I went and did a financial strategy. And that's, as I said, that motivated me, having a plan and knowing that what I did now, the sacrifices that I'll make now, what the impact would be of those sacrifices. So that's what I can say, guys. Give that a crack and just be active. Like that walking, you don't do it so much for the physical. That's a fringe benefit. It's for your mental health. It's to get off devices. And you might listen to a podcast or something like that while you're out there doing it, or listen to motivational speeches or songs or whatever it might be to make yourself motivated. But it's thinking through your whole life, coming to terms with stuff, doing the full post-mortem, and strategizing for the future. I'm not ranting about that because it is, in the end, it's the start of something new. It's the start of something new. If I was to, it was about 8 or 9 years ago now, it's been a while, but when I was right in the absolute dark trenches, that probably for a year, I'd say I was like really, really affected by it. If I was to look back, if I was to be able to look back now and thought how I thought my life was going to go and how it actually has turned out, it's far better than what I ever thought. I thought it was over. I thought everything was done. That was it. And how wrong was I? So hopefully there's a little bit of motivation there for you guys who are having a rough time. As I said, a bit more of a serious one today. I want to talk about these things a little bit more. If you are having a rough time, once again, hang in there. Hang in there because it really does get better. It really does. If you're feeling like you're really struggling, reach out to me. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. And one other thing, that's why I continue to make these videos. I'm demonetized. I get nothing out of doing this at the moment. I'm not getting any ads off YouTube or anything like that. I continue to make these videos because I know a lot of you guys like watching them. They make you feel better. And you can take something out of it. That's why I do it. That's why I do it. It's never, when I started doing it, it was never about the money or anything like that. I wasn't making mega bucks anyway. But that's why I'm here. So if I can help someone out, my job is done. Once again, thanks for watching. See you in tomorrow's video.